In this video, we'll be taking a look at Princess Leia Organa in her slave outfit for the Black Series 6-inch collection. So this was, interestingly enough, the very first Black Series 6-inch Princess Leia we ever got. I wonder why they decided to go with her slave outfit, but I'm kind of glad they did because, this has been a controversial action figure over the years, and we don't know for sure if Hasbro will ever make one again or not. She's definitely in need of an upgrade, as you can tell already, and of course a lot of collectors are advocating for one. But whether or not one's going to happen, I don't know, and if one does, it's probably not going to be anytime soon. So for the Black Series, this is probably going to be the slave Leia we're going to have, at least for the foreseeable future. But it's an okay action figure. I don't think it's as bad as some people claim. It's one of those ones too where you have to go through and find a good sample because some of the eyes on some of them are kind of wonky. Mine's not too bad. So I got this action figure, I'm trying to think, maybe 2017 or 18, brand new, and I paid $35 for her at the time. I got this at a toy show, so not too bad of a deal. If you recall, back in 2013 and 14, when this action figure was initially released, she was one of the biggest peg warmers at the time, and then it seemed like once she disappeared from retail, all of a sudden there was this huge demand for her, and now people pay outrageous prices on eBay for it. I don't understand why that is. No one seemed to care for the longest time. And she even sat in retail all the way up to like 2015 and 16 even. But then, for whatever reason, demand just went through the roof after that. I guess it's one of those things where everyone at first wasn't really too sold on the 6-inch scale, but then over time, people warmed up to it. More people came into the market, and then people wanted to go back and collect some of the first action figures. So then it was like, oh, I gotta have Leia. But it is what it is. But still, I'm glad she's a part of my collection over the last 7-8 years now at this point. And let's take a closer look at her. So obviously this is a painted face long before the photoreal treatment came to Black Series. And like I said, some of the samples I have seen are pretty bad, but this one's okay. You can see the black outline around her eyes there. Then the pupils. They're not totally even, but they're okay. As you can see, pupil on her right eye there pretty much goes from top to bottom, while this one has a little bit of a gap. So that's pretty interesting. Eyebrows are pretty good. Facial features are alright. Sculpting work is okay. Hair sculpt looks pretty nice. She has the pulled back hair there. She does have the earrings sculpted in as well. Then the bun at the top with the clasps. Then the braided hair. Then the clasp down here. She does have the chain around her neck, which is a separate accessory, and if you could manage to pop her head off, you would be able to take this off. But it's not really necessary. I think I have done it before, and she had a little bit of a giraffe neck, so there's really not much of a need to take it off. She does have a little bit longer chain than the TVC action figure, for example, but still not long enough to where you can do much with it. This is pretty much after she's already had it severed from the rest of Jabba's chain there, and during the rescue. And we do have her bra there. The jewelry around her left arm. Her back there. Did a nice job outlining where her spine would be. And some natural folds and things you would normally see. She has that piece of jewelry around her wrist. Her hands are basically both in the grip pose, but they did do some nice details outlining her fingers there. As for the loincloth, it's not the best in the world. It's a very thin, it feels very cheap material. I have seen some people cut this out and then do their own, which does make the action figure look a lot better. I'm not sure if I'm quite up for that yet. I like customizing a little bit, but I'm not. I wouldn't like to say I'm not good at it, but I certainly don't think I have quite the talent for it as of yet. Not enough experience, I'll say. But perhaps someday I'll give it an attempt. And of course, the clasp here. You can take this clasp off. It is a separate accessory, but you would have to do some work trying to get that off. And then you'd be able to take this off. Of course, her legs there. Yeah, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing having those pins. I'm sure Hasbro could do a much better job now. And then her boots. In terms of her articulation, for the time, she was actually probably less articulated than a lot of the other releases in her wave. I think it was like Han Solo, Boba Fett, and Greedo that were in her wave. But she does have a ball joint at the head, not a double ball joint. Then, but it does have a pretty good range of motion for what it is, and the hair is not too restricted. It's not like the TBC action figure where if you have her look forward, she's going to be having her head tilted to the left or anything like that. So not too bad. But still, she does look more natural with her head looking more to the left. Hinge shoulders and elbows, which go about 90 degrees for both. Hinge wrists, this one goes in and out, and then this one goes up and down. Joint at her midsection there, just below her bra. I don't think there's really waist articulation. At least I've never been able to rotate that at all. There could be a swivel waist, but I'm not too sure. I'm not going to pry at it to try and find out. But either way, there's not going to be a whole lot you get out of that anyway. But she does have hinged hips, and swivel thigh, and double hinge at the knees, and just normal hinged ankles. This is actually, I think, the very first Black Series action figure where it didn't have the rocker ankles. And probably one of the only few, as of today, that doesn't have rocker ankles at all. So that's kind of interesting. It's not too necessary for her, but I do think it would help a little bit. And I'm sure if Hasbro did do another attempt at this action figure, they would do that now. In terms of her weapons and accessories, not a whole lot to really say about it. She does have this skiff staff here, well, two skiff staffs. But this one is just plain silver or gray with a silver blade here. This is the one I usually have her displayed with. And then she has the skiff staff here, which looks like a very sandy color. Which is not too much of a different of a size from the 3 3/4 inch scale one. Let's see. And they're really not too far off from one another. Obviously, the Black Series one does have a little bit more details in it. So that's pretty good. And you can have her hold both weapons if you chose. Yeah, you can see that staff is pretty short. You can use them to help her stand up. But I'll probably just keep displaying her with this one. I think she looks pretty good with it. Let's see here. But I think that's pretty much all I can tell you about this slave Leia. We'll bring a few others out here to do a comparison. Here she is with the TBC action figure. And here she is with the Legacy Collection action figure. Then the Power of the Force one. I do have the Sandstorm Leia as well, but I'll do a video for that at some point. I have all her gear on, but it's basically the same exact figure as this, just slightly repainted. But still, she'll get her own video in the future. So would I recommend this Black Series Slave Leia for your collection? If you're a big fan of the character, then I would say sure. It's probably going to be the only opportunity we get one in Black Series. Like I said, who knows what's going to happen, if Hasbro's ever going to revisit this ever again or not. I wouldn't hold my breath with it being anytime soon. We get mixed signals as to whether or not she'll be revisited at all. But you know how it is these days, and quite frankly, I wouldn't count on it. So if you really want this, I would say just go ahead and get it. I would not pay an outrageous sum for it. If you can find her for the equivalent like $50 or 50 pounds or less, I would say you're probably getting an alright deal. Like I said, I paid $35 for her back in the day. So whether it's 50 pounds or $50 or 50 euros or whatever it is, I would say it's not too bad of a deal. But I'm glad she's been part of my collection for the last 8 years, and I have her proudly displayed on my shelf with most of the other Leias and Lukes and Hans and R2 and C-3PO. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support, and check out some links in the description if you haven't done so already. And as always, thanks for watching.